What's going on, everybody? Here today with another Bodhi Tree mental health video. On this channel I talk about my own journey through severe mental illness, mainly obsessive compulsive disorder and severe anxiety. I want to talk today a little bit about living with OCD and chronic anxiety. If you're watching this video already, then you're probably already well aware of how difficult and how challenging it is to live with OCD and anxiety. And I was having a conversation with the girl that I was seeing about a week ago, and I told her, I said, since I developed OCD and anxiety, there's never been an easy moment. I can't say that I've had a good moment since I've developed OCD and anxiety. And of course, we have better days and worse days, and we can see improvement. We can see, backpedaling, you know what I mean, to a degree. And some days can seem better and some days can seem worse. The truth is that there is no truly good days. A good day would be someone who is not experiencing any chronic health or mental health problems, and so anxiety and OCD, it's very difficult with a mental illness because it colors all of your experience. Even somebody who's experiencing some type of physical illnesses, some type of physical health problems, can be much easier for them to enjoying a meal, or even if you're wheelchair bound, enjoying being strolled around in a mall. With some physical things, some chronic physical problems that people face, there's times in life where there are ailments. So oftentimes their ailments just are not affecting them in that moment. They're still able to enjoy life completely and fully in that moment. And unfortunately, chronic mental health problems, it's just not like that. Everything, we experience life through the prism of our mind. And when our mind is not peaceful, it's not calm, it's not tranquil, then we can't truly enjoy life in any given moment to its fullest. And so it's really important to understand this and accept this, and to move, if possible, in a positive direction out of this. When living with OCD, I think what a lot of people struggle with, OCD and anxiety, they struggle a lot around just maintaining a normal life, work, relationships, hobbies. And to touch on work, I think that, I remember when I was in the depths of OCD and I was like, out of my mind, with OCD, my body and mind were ridden with anxiety, that I had to take some time off to truly just work on my mental health. Because when you're completely overwhelmed, sometimes just doing the basic things like holding a job, relationships, and hobbies are just too much. And that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong if you can financially do it, if you're living at home or somebody can support you, to take some time. But that time has to be well spent. You need to be working on cutting out your compulsions, reading, trying to, as I talk a lot about in this channel, trying to practice developing an attitude of acceptance, trying to practice mindfulness, mindful living, trying to get started on your path to recovery. So in the short term, I don't think there's anything wrong. In fact, it might be necessary to, take some time for yourself. But anybody that's experienced any type of serious, psychological breakdown, OCD, anxiety, or whatnot, this is a long-term problem. It's something that's going to take months and months, years probably, to fully recover from. Remember that, generalized anxiety disorder, OCD, these are all considered chronic mental illnesses. And the idea and understanding, there's actually very few people that recover from these disorders. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. There's a lot of people who really preach recovery, and the reality is that most people won't recover from these disorders. It's you don't see a lot of, on all of these pages of people that talk about OCD recovery, I see very hardly any people. Where's all the people that recovered? That's not to say that there's not people that have recovered. Of course, there's people that have recovered from these disorders. But it's something that's going to take, for someone that has serious, like a serious prolonged period of chronic anxiety unchecked, and just spiraled into, the thing about anxiety and OCD is that it just spirals. It's a one-way river into the pits of hell, and it's very easy to go down this river, and once you get so far down, it can happen really quick. It's very, very difficult to turn around, start swimming back the other way. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of time. And so in the short term, taking time off and just getting started on this journey, I think is completely fine. Over the long term, I think that you have to try and start to get back to living a normal life. So taking something like maybe 3 months off or 6 months off from work, relationships, hobbies, whatever, and just focusing completely on recovery I think that's completely fine. But at a certain point, you have to go back, you have to start living your life, because mental health problems is one problem. You don't need financial problems, all the problems that come from living a life of isolation, and although when you suffer from these type of mental health problems, it's pretty impossible to enjoy life completely. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy life at all. You're just going to have to enjoy life the best that you can with suffering from OCD and anxiety. Just because you can't fully enjoy your meals and your work and your relationships and your hobbies doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them on some level. I have stayed consistent on working and pursuing a normal life over the last few years, and I'm so thankful that I have. It's been tremendously hard and difficult. Would have been easier to sit at home and do nothing and just kind of try and mend my mind from the sidelines. But let's say that you do recover from OCD fully. Let's say that you're fortunate enough and you get on the right path. What type of reality do you want to enter? Do you want to enter a life that there's just this huge gap where you just suffered for years, and now here you are, let's say you're 100% recovered, you've ate up years of your life recovering but doing nothing, and now you're just faced with being behind on everything else, everything, not to use behind, maybe that's not the proper word, but your other affairs aren't in order. You don't have a stable work job, you don't have a stable relationship, you don't have anything, so even if you were to walk out of, even if you were to completely walk out of your this mental illness, you want to hopefully prepare your life for when your mind is better, so that when you walk out of mental illness, you have a life there that you can, it's the type of life that you would want to have if you could, enjoy it completely. So that's always been a motivator for me. It's always been a motivator to, one day I'll be 100% over this disorder, and when I'm 100% over this disorder, I want to have my life in a way in which it's in a way in which I can enjoy it. And so that's been such a motivator for me, rather than just, not doing, not sitting on the sidelines. So work is important to get back to. It's important to pursue your life, your goals. People talk a lot about values and acceptance and commitment therapy, and I think that's important, to start to pursue your goals and values and what you want to accomplish in this life, as if you're already recovered, as if you're going to recover one day. When it comes to relationships, I think relationships, having a relationship, like having a job, there may be a period of time in which it may be best that you don't have a relationship. If you're just constantly suffering and constantly miserable, I know for me, going through OCD recovery, a few things. Once, I was always on edge, easy to anger, stressed out, and miserable, I'm not the type of person that someone would really want to be around. So perhaps it's best if you don't have if you're not in a good place, just to just continue to work on yourself. Also there's a lot of hormonal problems. I've had a low libido. I have seen some decent improvement here as of lately, but for a long time I didn't have a strong sex drive because one of the big symptoms of anxiety and depression is a low sex drive. Your cortisol levels are high, suppresses your testosterone levels. Your whole body is really in a state of fight or flight. And so you may not be ready for a relationship right away, but as you move down the path, getting back to work, pursuing your values, pursuing your goals, you should try and pick up a relationship if that's something that you really value. And one of the things I can say about that is that you need to be completely, utterly honest about where you are with your mental health. I think the sooner, the better. Obviously maybe not like on the first date, hey, what's up? I had a psychological breakdown like fucking 10 months ago and I'm just, I'm still a fucking wreck, blah, blah, blah. But no, when things, if you're engaged with somebody and it's going down a more serious path, it's important to let them know, hey, I constantly let, the girl that I see know, hey, I'm fucked up right now. I'm stressed out. My mind isn't good in this moment. It's not good today. And that will really just work wonders, because it's important to start to discern what's going on with the real world and what's going on in your mind. You can be fucking going crazy over some small shit and be completely aware that you're crazy on it. That, hey, this is my mind. The way that I'm acting, the way that I'm talking, the way that I'm speaking, this is my mind. And so in a relationship, it's so good. I think it's really the only way you can really have a functional relationship with these mental health problems is when you become aware enough about your problems to constantly let your partner know, hey, my mind isn't good in this moment or today, and always remind your partner, especially if they're supportive, and that's probably the only person that's going to be with you, with someone that's supportive, but remind that person how much they mean to you. Because to be honest with you, it's definitely not easy. It's not preferable. There's really no benefits to being with somebody with a mental illness. So anybody that is going to be in a serious relationship with you is really a special person. And I always tell the girl that I've been seeing that, like, hopefully I'll be able to be the man that you always wanted. And I'm always, it means so much to me. The girl that I've been seeing means so much to me that she's been there for me at my lowest. So the people, if you get in a relationship, it's important to keep that communication open and to really do as much as you can to let that person know how much you appreciate them, because they must really appreciate you a lot if they're going to be in a relationship with somebody that has a serious mental health problem like OCD and anxiety. Last is hobbies. Most of our lives are really made up of these few things: work, relationships, and pastime. I don't have a tremendous amount of free time, but when I do, once again, with all of these things, since I developed OCD and also with coronavirus, there's been a lot of limiting factors. If I didn't have OCD, I think I would probably, if I didn't have OCD and anxiety, I would probably go out more. I'm sure that I would probably, go out more to, I don't know, restaurants or bars. I can remember where I used to always like to go out to, there's times now, there's times since I've developed, OCD, to where I'm a little bit more reclusive, but I still, try and make the best of my time, my free time. So, having hobbies, going on vacation, working out, that's important if you can do it. All of these things, it's something that you got to try and bring into your life as much as possible. And so, if I had to sum up everything in this video, it's unfortunately, it's simple. It's just, you have to live your life in spite of OCD, and you have to move towards recovery. You have to move towards recovery. And even if even if it takes you, like, When I started off this journey, I thought that I was gonna recover from OCD in a couple of months. I was so lost in my own head that I didn't realize how lost I was, and that's OCD in a nutshell. You're just too far gone to realize how far gone you are. And I thought I'd be better in a couple months or 6 months or a year, but better is something completely different. I mean, being mentally healthy is probably not anything like you remembered it before you developed mental illness, because you probably were suffering from anxiety and all types of fucking poor mental health for a long time before you start experiencing these type of psychological symptoms. But even if it takes 5 years, or even if it takes fucking 10 years to recover from OCD, move towards life. OCD does not have to be chronic, but I think so much is that we're underestimating. So many people underestimate the length of time that it takes to recover. How much, for lack of a better word, work it takes to recover. Even if you're practicing something like mindfulness, which is really learning to do nothing. Even this type of practice, just giving up compulsions, just learning to live in the moment, just learning to accept your feelings, your symptoms, and life non-judgmentally, and all of this. Even if you're taking a kind of a non-doing path, you know what I mean? It's gonna take a long time to completely come to a place of, like I've spoken about on this before, a place of equanimity, a place of balance, peace, tranquility in the mind. It's going to take a long period of time. It takes the average person, anybody that's working on their mental health, but most of the time the average person, if they were to pursue, improving their mind, their mental health, their beliefs, their perspectives, this is something that takes a long time. It takes, it takes freaking a long time. So, live as much as you can. Live as much as you can despite this disorder. Move towards full recovery, even if you never recover. Even if you never recover, right? You never recover from OCD. You always have anxiety. It's always there. First off, moving towards recovery, even if you fail and you never really get the hang of the concepts, or certain therapy just doesn't work for you for whatever reason, working towards recovery is going to keep you from backsliding further than where you are before. So that's one thing. Because if you're not doing anything to recover from OCD and anxiety, it's always going to come back. It's always going to get worse over time. It's impossible for your mental health to get better unless you're working on it. I mean, it's like going to the gym, and you know what I'm saying? If you don't work out, your health's never going to improve. If you keep on eating whatever you want, if you keep on engaging in compulsions, if you keep on going over to, getting chicken fingers over here at Cane's Chicken Fingers, which I had for a long, probably shouldn't have, but it was pretty good. But if you don't work out, you don't take care of your physical health, you're always going to be you're always going to be prone to these type of problems. So, but even if you don't, even if you never ever recover, as you move towards life, even though, you can say, hey, my life wasn't the way that I wanted it to be. Wish I didn't have all of these, wish I didn't have OCD, anxiety. Wish I would have experienced life in a little bit better way in my mind. But even though I didn't, I was still able to work, still able to maintain a relationship. Yeah, I didn't enjoy life to its fullest, but I tried. I tried, and I did enjoy life. I did enjoy life the most that I could, and that's all anybody can do. We're not the only people. OCD, you don't have to have mental health problems. I know all types of people They don't have diagnosed mental health issues. They struggle with their minds on all the time. They're not very happy people. A lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people are in a lot of mental pain out here. Drug addiction, chronic illnesses, lives cut short. All of these things. There's just so much pain out here, and that can kind of seem depressing. But in our case, it can be comforting because you're not alone. You're not alone. Life is not this thing that is like this. It really is so much of, like I've talked about in my channel. I've talked about a lot of, I rely a lot on, so much of Buddhist philosophy I see the wisdom in. Life is pain and suffering. It really is. The problems with so many of us, it really is just not accepting it. We're just constantly being bombarded by social media, by parents, by our teachers, by society, by culture, that, especially in this time, this day and age where there's a lack of any type of real spirituality, people's lost faith in God and the hereafter. And so there's this real press on this life. In this life, you have to be somebody and you have to do everything. And everything, you got to have, the house and the white picket fence and the beautiful wife or husband and the kids and the cars and the vacations and the college degrees and the good boss, and everything's got to go good for you. That's just not how life is. That's not how life goes. It's like that for very few people. Even the people that have all these material things. I'll share a story. I met a guy, he was a software engineer. I imagine he was an older guy. He's about 50 years old. And, I imagine he made really good money. He got into being a software engineer in the 90s, and he's had done a lot of amazing things. And, I ended up meeting him by chance, and he ended up telling me that he actually had OCD. And he said that, just prior, 6 months before I had met him, he was saying 6 months ago he had a real breakdown. He said that he had gambled away $100,000, and he said that, he was doing a lot of cocaine, and, so even people, you might say, oh, this person's got a good job and a beautiful house and a great car and a beautiful wife. These people are suffering too. Sometimes these people are suffering. They're suffering more than the people working at Mickey D's. Sometimes the people that are poor and they have these quote unquote, these lives, these shit lives. They have these shit lives because they don't care. They don't fucking care. Maybe they cared at one time and they just don't care anymore. And truly, not caring is really the closest you'll ever get to true happiness. And it can be a little bit difficult if you not practice mindfulness and meditation. It's a little bit difficult to understand what that means to truly not care about anything, because I think a lot of people think it means you don't care about anything. So what does that mean? There's so much emphasis in our society also about caring, and it can seem crazy, why wouldn't you care? There's so much pain in the world, but there's so much pain in the world also because people care so much, and a lot of times it's this caring, it's this type of thing leads to anxiety and depression and anger and sadness and despair, and all of these negative emotions, they come from not being removed enough from situations in their lives, and then these situations in their lives break people down and consume them over time, make them miserable people, and the miserable people in fact impart pain and everything on the world. And it's that type of energy that moves from mind to mind that really causes a lot of the real suffering, and the suffering just creates more suffering. And so I know I kind of went on a little bit of a rant right there, but anyways, I hope some of this advice finds you well. I know I haven't been doing as many videos as of lately, but when I do videos, I really like to try and do videos where I feel like I have something I really want to say. Anyways, I hope this video finds you well. Peace, you all.